are made right now, so let's understand what may happen in this game. Where should we focus? I mean, I'm Portuguese. I would like to talk about him as well.
Come on.
Attila.
Of course. Okay, so going all the way to the side of the split, of course, X7 bringing in Attila in the team. We expected a lot of fire from the Portuguese AD carry. But if we look at the champion pool that he brought in, especially towards the first stages of the split, it was Ezreal, Senna, Veigar, extremely passive, space-creating carries towards the bottom of the map, and of course the Veigar that's more of an AP carry. Now towards the latter stages of the split, it's been Tristana, Draven, and mind you, one of the losses that was served to Excel, it was Attila on that Draven. And even the game that they lost last week versus Eminem, Attila's Draven was still a big factor of why that game was kept that close.
I like this. But
I like this more.
Yeah. By far. He built his brand like recently on Pokey, playing with low gold and all that. But this is Attila.
Yeah.
I missed, yeah, there you go, Tristana as well. I don't know what the Twitch is doing there. I don't care about that little rat. But the other four, this is Attila. This is the personality of Attila. And he's showing more and more often. But if you look into the other side, Dusty though, how can they fight that one? I know you want to talk about it.
I mean, they have Den Voxne. Den Voxne is, first of all, an insane League of Legends player, one of the best Danish AD carries that we have. But
here we go again.
He is also a mad scientist. Back in 2021, he brought out a Lee Sin bot lane. He hasn't brought out this split, but you can see the Seraphine, the Soraka, the Vayne. These more untraditional things are being thrown into the bot lane, and he is piloting it. And I have seen around the block that he has started to play something new as well. The Yasuo. I'm not sure if he locks it in here. I would hope so. But I mean, it is a mad scientist. He's always cooking up something new. And if there ever was a game to bring it out, it could definitely be this one.
I saw your face when you said Yasuo.
I think it's really interesting though, because Buckland has played Yasuo to great success. The one game that he has on Yasuo, he didn't have a single death and he ended up snowballing the entire game. So if this can be the curveball that you throw towards X7 and you flex it towards the bot side of the map with something like a Nautilus, for example, it could prove to be really useful for the draft.
Okay, regarding the rest of the map, how can we look into this matchup? Because even the top lane of Dusty is amazing as well, I would say. And maybe on par versus the enemy versus Chasey, no?
I mean, it's Kerberos, man.
I'm just setting up the stakes. I'm just delivering it with you.
Okay, I think Kerberos is up there with the guys that want to dominate side lane together with Jaxplank in our league. And I feel like, do you give him the counter pick? Do you give a champion that he's very comfortable on in the likes of maybe a Darius or the Tryndamere, because so Christ play the Tryndamere as well. If you manage to snowball him through the side lane, you also get a second way to play the game, which is through side lane pressure. Not a lot of teams can use that. I think the only two teams that we have seen use that so far continuously has been Dusty with Kerberos and also Riddle with Jaxplank.
I would say even though things have changed in Dusty, I think the sentence still remains. On a good day, they can defeat every single team in the league.
Yeah.
I miss Viking as well.
You miss, you miss the flexing?
I miss the flexing. He was a beast.
He was a Viking, you know.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, looking into the champion select before we jump into it, we're almost at the game. Don't worry, we'll press the button soon enough. Tell me, what can we expect?
Start the game, Caster.
What can we expect?
Chat, I'm looking into you.
I think Dusty could actually be bringing out some very hot spice here. We talked about the Yasuo, but I think that is what they're going to go for. I'm hoping at the very least, but if not, I could definitely also see them go towards a more traditional AD carry, and then Den Voxne would be able to take over the game in that sense. Or as we talked about with Kerberos, you've thrown him something like the Camille or something like the Kale that he's very comfortable on, and he could be a very big minion in the game as well.
I feel like MC has been the black sheep for X7 so far. I do not necessarily think that he fits into Haru's shoes because he's a completely different player than what Haru was. Also, the communication a lot of the times with Korean mid and Korean jungle can be a little bit hindered over there, and I think MC has sort of like lost his way of playing the game. That's not necessarily only up to him. It's also the fact that AP junglers right now are not that fitting in the meta. I mean, we've seen some Talia, we've seen some Lilia, we've seen some Diana, but we've yet to see an AP jungler coming out of MC. The first one that we saw was versus JDXL. First game of the split, he picked his Nidalee. They absolutely choked him down in his jungle. So I feel like if MC does not do well for X7, X7 doesn't seem to do well.
You're new here. I'm going to let you.
Okay.
Press the button. I was expecting more of that.
Wait, we're expecting to hit it hard. I mean, I hit the button. I
No,
don't wanna
it's
break
on,
the
it's on. Don't ruin the button.
Don't hit it again.
button. Jesus.
Dusty versus X7. Look at that score, 7-4 for Dusty, and on the X7, 6-5. This is something that no one was ready, even though they changed the entire roster. We thought, okay, they're finally getting the gears together. It doesn't seem like it after the defeat from Eminem on Monday. But today is a new day. Let's see how they rise. It's going to be the volleyball band. I was going to say Dan was banned because I see so many
You know
volleyball
what?
from Dan.
I've had this with Advian's rel. When Advian was on the NLC,
FGG, yeah.
every single rel was Advian. It wasn't rel.
Advian was banned.
And now I have this with FGG as well. It's like all the supports for XL just end up playing rel.
Moving on, there we go. Volleyball Talia on the other side from X7 themselves. They're the one taking away that pick that allowed MC to flex.
Callista?
Yeah,
Kalista?
obviously, right? You're highlighting the Kalista, and that's totally the right thing to do. What I really like about this volleyball ban is the fact that Linkus more so prioritizes things like the Viego or the Wukong, so he still keeps those strong junglers up in his pool, and while he takes something away from MC, so it's a very good one-sided ban in that sense.
I'm just wondering right here, what do you want to prioritize in general? Because both S-tier junglers now have been banned. Yes, MC has been defaulting back to Viego, but now Viego has been hit by nerfs. So what do you rotate towards? Because MC last split was playing a bunch of Graves in solo queue and this start of season, but MC was also one of the few leasing players we used to have over in the NLC if he chooses to go anything AD. Now again, the problem that happens in X7, and I would have mentioned his Nidalees, his Rumbles, his Dianas, is the fact that Temp does not play AD mid. So it literally hinders the dynamic between an AP and an AD mid jungle duo. Seraphine is going to be locked in, and you never know, this could be backline, this could also be then Voxne down the bot lane. And here you leave open things like Lucian Nami to be locked in and jungler for MC.
Yeah, so obviously they pick up the Seri, a very strong chain. It makes sense you would reply with that, but I think you're highlighting the completely right thing, right? You're locking a Seraphine, but it's so hidden. I would like to see that get locked in, though, the Lee Sin, as you mentioned before as well, right? But the Seraphine is so strong because you don't know what you're going up against. So while they lock an AD carry, if they feel like that's a good matchup for the Seraphine, they'll throw her down there, but if not, they can hold it for the mid lane as well, and it's such a strong thing having those flex picks.
It's really important to bring up that in the Lee Sin Jungle Clear Challenge, MC that plays Lee Sin is one of the lowest, fastest clears.
He was at the bottom, no?
Huh? Yeah, he's at the bottom of the table.
So the slowest.
Listen,
doesn't
mate.
mean
Listen.
anything.
Listen,
I just want to bring
Listen
this up.
doesn't play to full clear. Listen plays to gank. And this is why I want to see a very
That's why he's a good
strong
one.
mid-jungle duo. I want to see LeBlanc, Akali,
Yes.
anything that can follow up with Lee Sin to completely tear apart Backland and Linkas, because I feel like Linkas has been the moving gear for Dusty for a long time, and Backland has been absolutely stellar this entire season. And seeing the Nautilus, seeing the Seraphine, I'm thinking bot lane, I'm thinking even potentially Yasuo for the set of Dusty.
Oh.
They take the Graves.
They take the Graves.
This is something that
Well,
Linkus
give me one
does play.
second,
It
I'll
is one
just
of his
see.
more played champions, but I know you're not very happy about that trouble. And Graves isn't the most meta jungler at the moment as well either, so it's not like, oh yeah, but he's S tier in the moment in the meta, so this is more a comfort pick for Linkus coming through.
Well, they have CC if the setter goes to the bot lane for the mad scientist, as you call it, alongside with the Nautilus. Maybe you bring more CC into the mid lane as well, and Graves has an opportunity to gank because everybody can CC.
Okay, so here's the deal, right? I'm thinking that Dusty are going the way of Nuriki. They're going to choose perma-scaling all over the map, which is something that doesn't necessarily suit Kerberos on the top side of the map, because you have Seraphine that can scale later stages, you've got Graves that can scale in later stages, and of course when you see Lee Sin, you're like, great, if Lee Sin doesn't do anything proactive in the early game, if we do stop him from advancing, we can just very safely scale into the latter stages of the game and just take it like this. But if you fall into the trap of Nuriki when you do not have lanes that you can play through at all, and everybody starts losing prior and you start losing all your objectives, then you would have lost so much gold that you can't come back from.
There's already one target from X7 Dusty that can be affected by the Renata ultimate. That is the Graves. Aside from that, I mean, Nautilus is going to stun you, but that doesn't mean a lot. The cool thing is, if you get berserked as a Graves, you lose 2 shots and you have to reload. So at least it's not going to be that tremendous from Dusty, Veigar, Azir, so controlled into the mid lane. We still have a lot of windows, but you're smiling, I can see it.
They're banning,
Prophet, tell
they're
me.
banning Temp's Azir. If you're going to ban the Azir, I would like to see possibly the Lissandra being banned as well. We mentioned how we want to see Lee Sin having a mid lane that can actually set up for you. Ari is still up there to actually be able to follow up with Lee Sin, hasn't been banned away. Oh, the fact that LeBlanc actually got banned here, I'm thinking that they do want to go towards something like an Ari. Because Ari into LeBlanc, LeBlanc usually will win the trade earlier on. It is a skill matchup, but you definitely don't want to play into Buckland's LeBlanc. That would be a huge crime. Corky's been banned away, so I'm expecting an Ari on the other side.
Yeah, the mid pool has really been trimmed, so very quickly, X7, you, as you say, just take that Ari, and makes a lot of sense, as you just said as well. So let's see now what the response will be from Dusty. I'm very curious, you know, the Corgi has been taken off the table, a very safe scaling pick that allows you to have a lot of late game damage. So what will Backland go towards here? I am very excited. This is where we steal the cheese, maybe the Yasuo we talked about. Dusty even tweeted it out that, oh, what are we going to go today? They tweeted out emojis hinting at a Yasuo. So, you know, it is in the cards and they are hovering it. Please, yeah, they did it.
Okay, the question is,
where's he gonna go?
Still don't, even if they lock in all 5 of their picks, you still do not know if this Yasuo is in the hands of Den Voxney or Buckland.
And I'm going to top that even further because on the Champion Select, they cannot change positions, so we will not know.
Until we go in game?
Until we go game. So it's only for us and the Champion Select themselves. They know who they're going to fight against. So for us, it's a big question mark.
It's all about the arch here for Den Voxney. He was in this Yasuo arch in solo queue. How has that solo queue gone for him? I mean, this very much to me screams like it's a Gragas Yasuo bot lane. That is like what we saw at Worlds 2019 with G2 and all these guys being very good at Worlds. I haven't seen this in ages and I am very excited.
I love this because we said any Seraphine lane, any Graves jungle is going to be a little bit more passive. You can juice it up level 6, get your Gragas to roam, get your Nautilus to roam level 6. You literally press your R button, Yasuo can instantly follow. You know what can follow up? Graves' ultimate can follow up as well. So I really like this coming in from Dusty. I think they have found some proactivity over in the map. I do still think that this is going to be Backland's Yasuo because he was so insane last time he played it, undying the entire game, snowballed from mid to late. So if anything, I think he deserves to have his hands onto this champion. On the other side, I feel like JC went for more of a, if you want, Korean style of top laner, picking the Aatrox into the Gragas. Traditionally, I call the Aatrox an AD mate because you don't get endangered too much. Yeah, AD caster, because you don't get too close to your wave. You can actually farm from distance, so you're technically casting spells while being AD.
I'm going to do it again. Tell me, Duckling, who do you think is going to take it?
I have to go with Dusty. They went with a Yasuo. That was what I hoped to see, so I have to go with Dusty.
Trouble?
I'm a big fan of Gragas, especially in this meta, and the way he sets up for Yasuo so easily, so I do really like what Dusty
Both of you are going for the first time for the same team. By the way, you guys are tied up in terms of predictions for the game, and today we're running a special game until the end of the day that you guys didn't know about.
More donuts?
No, it's actually a big prize. Whoever wins these predictions will get a prize on the post show. Just letting you know. But you went for the same teams, so they're going to keep at least tied up. But these teams are not going to be tied up at the end of the day. Whoever takes this one skyrockets into the standings. Without further ado, Nightmare, Viperun, what is happening, my dudes?
If X7 win, they will be tied up with Dusty because they'll have the same scoreline. So
why don't we get predictions? Why were we not told about this?
Well, the thing is,
why don't I get a chance of a prize?
The analysts have actually got this one wrong anyway, because X7 are winning this matchup. So it's awkward that that's their job.
So funnily enough, in spring, speaking of predictions, I remember you, on our internal cast predictions, basically went through after like week 1 or 2 and went to every X7 game and put X7 for the rest of the split.
Yes.
And that worked out pretty well for you, actually. They had a very strong split. Summer, not really been sunshines and rainbows.
Legitimately though, I'm going to call out our social media manager right now. I was winning predictions, and we've stopped doing them.
Well, what a shame. Almost like we're not. It's almost like I totally didn't rig this, so I have to not lose games.
Honestly, you saw that you were behind me, and you were like, "Well, that's not a good look."
That's just not on.
But we are on to the rip for our third game of the day: Dusty versus X7 Esports. Of course, analysts are favoring Dusty. I think X7 look pretty spicy. What's your take?
I think the draft is something that Dusty have shown before. It has been in Backland we trust, and it has worked out for them fair amount this split. I think in spring, Backland was ramping up from a couple of shaky early weeks into a strong end of it. In summer, Backland has been one of our best mid laners. Now, there is a difference between succeeding on a Yasuo combo against some other teams compared to succeeding against Tempt. Because Tempt is incredibly good at this video game called League of Legends and is on Ahri. Now, has gone for the Ignite, it's the double Ignite lane. Ahri tends to really bully around melee matchups in the first couple of levels. I think that Backland has all the tools to make things work in team fights. I'm really looking forward to seeing Kerberos helping dunk on some low health targets. But if the game falls away from them early on, and it very much can, I think X7 can win 3 lanes.
I'm excited to see Kerberos on this Gragas as well for other reasons, because he's a player that we tend to see on these duelist split pushers get around the maps types. And Gragas isn't really that kind of champion. He wants to be in the team fights. He wants to be engaging, disengaging, shaking it all about.
It is, you're absolutely right, and Kerberos has typically picked for 1v1 dueling matchups. This is a first strike AP Gragas, we'll throw that out there. I'm not sure if we can actually see the secondary runes for Kerberos. I'm always interested in what Gragas goes secondary. I'll believe it. Actually, no, it's probably just going to be sorcery.
He's got sorcery because he's got the mana flip band.
Yes, that's a very good pickup. I wasn't even looking at that. But either way, if you're looking at that first strike, you are probably going towards, your Night Harvester into the Seraphs, and that is a lot of damage. For those of you that are watching the LEC over the last week, Wonders Gragas for Fnatic was absolutely absurd. Did something like 848 damage per minute on that champion. That's on the highest end of the scale, probably, but when you're looking at this comp, when you are looking to just dunk onto some poor unfortunate soul who's been caught up in a totally non-Disney fashion by the Dusty Wombo combo, that extra damage coming from the Yasuo is absolutely pivotal. So Kerberos still has agency in the game and has that ability to show off the individual skills.
100%, and we saw the first strike Gragas down in Division 2. Stumpy played it when he was subbed in. Got rolled by a Sejuani. I'm mildly disappointed we didn't see the Sejuani coming out again, because we know Chasey can play it, because we've seen 2 games of it already.
So I think in this draft, I think, yes, something like Sejuani can hold the door shut and keep your carry safe. But if you are dealing with Gragas, who, if they do actually end up committing to the fight and actually flashing in, body slamming in, low range, Graves, low range, Yasuo, very much low range, melee ulting into you, and the Nautilus doing the same thing. If you manage to not catch the Aatrox survives the initial engage or has a Renata or something like that, you get to pop around, you get to hop around with the world ends up increasing your healing, you get 1 Gore Drinker, and suddenly the fight's reset. And suddenly, your combo has been hit onto a target that really doesn't care and gets to regen through all of that. Chasey is there to be the Sword of Damocles, not a Darkin sword this time, it's a mythological Greek one instead, where you end up missing the combo onto him one time and that string snaps and it falls on you. And Chasey can very much turn these fights around on the Aatrox.
Assuming that Chasey gets to the mid stages in a decent fashion. Of course, Aatrox sometimes has a bit of a bad time.
Yep. Speaking of Ahri, though, because I love doing it.
We weren't, but okay.
Yeah, so we're just seeing it on screen here. So I'm trying to remember who I saw play the Ahri the other week into Backland. He would have actually been into Backland, thinking about it as well. I'm trying to remember the player on the other side of it was the other Yasuo game which Backland played. Now, what you do with this matchup is you just throw 1 skill shot at Yasuo and see if he uses the wind wall. You can see Tempt there, throwing out the Q and goes, yeah, sure, you can put out your wind wall if you want. You can only use it once per wave, especially at lower levels. And then you turn around later and you auto-attack. So you auto-Q, you pop the wind wall, you wait for that to go down, then you auto-W and you get your actual execute after that point. As you can see, Tempt taking control of the mid lane matchup as opposed to Backland in his previous Yasuo game. Having a much easier time of it. And Tempt just doing easy things and has even picked up a Dark Seal. There you go. Always knew I liked this player.
You're like, yeah, Tempt, that's a handsome ring you got yourself there.
It's like a token for your library later on, should you be so inclined to do some light reading of Magi's. And of course,
does a book built out of a ring?
Again, it's a library card. It's like a different kind of a library card.
I have a library card.
Well, now, you don't have a library card, but you could have a library ring. That's what I'm saying. It's called a Dark Seal. Yeah, you should look it up.
Well, I don't. Shout out to Bladen Library. That's my local library. It's a very specific...
What do you mean you don't have soul-stealing literature here?
Just go in there and be like, ah! They'll be like,
what the heck are you doing? Why are you so violent all of a sudden? I just need to fill my book. But given that X7 do want to kind of win through lane in some ways, right? You can see push in mid, and top bot lane is much more sleeper. It's Azeri, doesn't really want to do much in laning phase. Same with the Seraphine. You are looking for X7 to start increasing the pace of the game and getting your solo laners ahead. So something like a Dark Seal. I've always been a fan of it on Ahri. I think it is the correct item. Magi's is never a miss on an Ahri. All you need is one good fight and it starts paying off for itself. But in this game in particular, given how the comps interact, I would very much support Tempt going for a more snowbally build, because that's what X7 needs.
but then it needs to snowball.
Yeah, no Nunu picked, sadly. That gets kind of awkward. But in this game, I mean, you have the Lee Sin, you have picked a strong mid-jungle, or otherwise top-side skirmishing battle.
Yep.
Now actually looking to see what's... Because we're getting up to that point where you have to start thinking ahead to Herald, what's going to happen with that. You can see that attempt. Of course, neither mid laner has a teleport to get towards lane, so those resets are going to become more important. Have to see whether Kasing wants to commit himself to that. So something that JDXL do very, very well is that when they have a Renata and they want to play around Herald, they actually get Renata to soak some XP from mid lane as well as bot lane to get level 6 before that Herald fight. This isn't going to be the case in this game. Kasing started level 4, and it's only a minute until that Herald spawns, so X7 not planning any cheeky shenanigans that way. But X7, if they do want to go towards Herald and use that top lane pressure, will still need to have some thoughts about it, like we said.
And it's going to be only a minute until that Rift Herald spawns, so interested to see how the teams decide to play around there, if they want to go with your advice or if they want to ignore you entirely.
Well, they can ignore me, and I can still be right. That's actually the beauty of being right about things. They can, you can just sit there and be really, really smug about them losing if it ends up that way.
Or if they go there, do what you said, and then they'll die.
Well, in that case, I can just say they played it wrong. You see, I have plausible deniability. I'm not the one actually clicking the buttons on the Rift. It adds a degree of safety to what I do on my particular role. But we are coming, again, to very close to that Herald spawn, and you see that Tempt has pushed in mid-wave, is heading up towards top side. Kerberos has no teleport, of course has some sustain from Cookies, from Pot, and of course from Gragas passive too, and we are looking like we're heading here. No level 6 on those supports, like I said, no one's trying out shenanigans there, but X7 here and ready to fight.
They're prepping the sending members mid. Kasing has wandered up, but so is Stend arriving at the same time. MC putting some damage on the Linkers, but does need to be careful. Pushed away from the anchor and has to flash over the wall. Stend going to be caught out a little bit by Kasing, but not too much damage from the Renata Clask at this time. But
Good MC, doesn't have the flash, has kick, looking for it.
Looking for something, but will get caught out by the ultimate. Backlund picks up first blood.
What a mess, MC. There's a wind wall, there's a Nautilus. You have full information on this. And again, if X7 wanted to fight for this.
This is coming down, but the anchor's going to be used to escape because he's going to handshake him backwards. The damage comes through. Chase secures the kill.
Okay, it doesn't even matter that they lose Lee Sin. They just have better champions at this point in the game. Graves is not spiking at this point, and the ultimates were already used. So X7 pick up a freebie after that point. But what a miscommunication, or rather a misjudgment. I mean, maybe it was calculated, but if that's the case, X7 are pretty bad at maths. X7, again, managed to blow that important Nautilus flash. They know that they're out of sorts, but Stend has the hook back up because Nautilus, when you hook a wall, you get that half refund on that dredge line cooldown. He'd used that, of course, when he missed the Lee Sin, hits that wall. So I'm maybe wondering if MC just mistimed it with that, or maybe it was just that misdecision making. Either way, they managed to get themselves a kill after that point, and that's a Dark Seal stack. That's the most important thing you've gained from that for Tempt. That library ring thing, it's starting to gain more value.
You're going to lose out on Rift Herald though, so Dusty, while they went even, they got first blood, which is better than not getting first blood, and they got the kill on jungle.
Oh, for sure.
And they get the Rift Herald, so it's a positive thing for the Icelandic team. X7 maybe looking to do something towards the bot lane, unable to find too much.
Yeah, this is a net win for Dusty in terms of overall gains. They get more in terms of the first blood. They get themselves the Herald, which will be, of course, gold kind of set into that future should they use it appropriately. But it is a kill onto Aatrox, and we talked about how important Aatrox is in terms of turnaround damage that X7 have access to if they don't manage to find the correct play after that point. Oh, that's a crash onto Attila.
He's going to be able to just walk off.
That's fairly lucky. That handshake ends up rooting up Stend, and when you are, I'm trying to remember if you can actually cast your hook while you are root. I think you can when you're Morgana bound. I think there are some spells you can cast, because it's technically not a mobility spell. Now, if you're grounded or something like that, there are some weird interactions with some forms of CC and abilities which conditionally move you across the map. That way, though, you can see that Stend didn't have the hook, or at least didn't cast it onto Attila that time.
And the mid lane Tempt to Backlund just going back and forth, throwing some abilities down. Backlund's not actually having a very bad time in this matchup, just trying to keep up in farm, about a wave down, but does, of course, have that kill.
Yeah, does have the kill, and this is where things get a little spooky for X7, because now you have a combo with the Yasuo, who's not far behind. Typically, when you are again against an Ahri who punishes melee matchups very early on, because see this into Yone as well, Silas, you name it, lots of champions which can get bullied out level 1, 2, 3. You're expecting to get an advantage, then keep ahead. An early kill, not using your mid lane kill combo with Lee Sin very appropriately to kill that Yasuo. This is all things which now Dusty can now use and say, you didn't keep the Yasuo down. This combo is deadly.
Dragon's going to be started up by MC, unfortunately timing to get knocked back by it. It looks like members of Dusty aren't super aware, so I imagine that this one will go down in the direction of X7. Dusty moving members to the mid lane. There's no jungler there just yet, but Linkus is in the wings and does have the Rift Herald.
Does have that Rift Herald, and of course that's the promised gold from getting that objective. You'll get it at some point as long as you chuck it down into a lane and make it hit that tower. So they're looking to put that towards that. I suppose it would be more valuable to put it towards that Herald if they can, but Linkus still has it in inventory and hasn't pulled the trigger on that one as we speak. Have to see where it goes next.
Do you want to see a picture of a pet?
Yes, I'd like that. I like pets. Which one is it? Oh,
Several pets.
I like cats. I'm a cat pet. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of cats.
It's 4 cats.
That's a lot of cats. That's more cats than I have, which is 0. It's not hard to have more cats than me. If you have any number of cats, you have more cats than me, and that makes me quite sad. I grew up with a cat. I was I'm a big fan of them. I had a good cat experience growing up. And I hope you're having a good cat experience too, Crimson Craven.
I hope... Oh, actually, we're going to see Temp diving away from the ultimate. Should be able to stay alive.
That's a good fox experience.
I hope
not dying to the cat.
Rather than being Crimson Craven, it's just very fancy. He's Crimson Sea Raven. But either way, I hope you're having an excellent day. More pets, please. But Kasing is going to step forward, gets the handshake down onto Bagel. Tempt is there, but can't get too much damage down. The Ignite is utilized. But chasing down, trying to get the kill on the side. You can see Chasing moving up, getting towards Linkus, but it's going to be collapsed on by Stend. The ultimate comes on down, and Aatrox is toast. Dusty pick up another as the ultimate lands down onto MC. Seraphine turning up to play, but the Lee Sin wanders off.
What an absolute mess. I mean, X7, they know that they want to maybe look for something in the mid lane. They're looking maybe for something on the back lane, but they'd already used the Spirit Rush. They know that the wind wall's still up, so they can't even use the hostile takeover from Kasing. And X7 overcommit with Chasey on that side, and yes, Aatrox will be a threat if they are ahead once they get to a couple of items. They're not at that point yet. They get focused down far too easily, and X7, not for the first time this split, and something that we had thought they'd managed to eradicate, have some serious communication issues and some differing of opinions around that mid lane. That is not heartening to see for X7 fans. It's something that they thought they'd gotten rid of for this split.
And, I mean, X7, they haven't looked the same beast this season at all. And a lot of that has to come down to the new tools that they've brought in. I think Attila has, by and large, been upgraded on Nata, because that was the perceived weakness of last split. But the top side for X7 hasn't looked the same.
It's so strange because you can change a number of balancing things. I think that Nata was very happy to be left alone a lot of the time in bot lane. Actually was very good on his Jinx Aphelios too. So he had his own bonuses. Someone like Attila in this game really hasn't been in the spotlight though. I think that's obviously right. Yeah, I think that was, you can argue about that all you want. It's not relevant in this game just yet. It has been this top side not really communicating well in a lot of ways. Chasey on an individual level, on a laning level, has been succeeding so far. And you expect that of someone from Challenger's career, this league which has produced so much talent over time, but that mid-jungle has stopped really firing on all cylinders. That top side stopped firing on all cylinders. Once again, they're looking for an MC so close. Getting caught out, but won't be this time.
And for Dusty, they're just rooting around, looking for plays, trying to get something to work because they know that they have this small advantage. The momentum meter agrees. Our analysts in the green room agree that right now Dusty feel favored. However, it's by no means a massive lead. Less than 1,000 to the good for Dusty right now.
Yeah, so it was Astralis that Dusty ended up playing with the last time they played this comp, and that was very important for them because actually it was the first time that Dusty beat a team above them in the standings. Now X7 are actually below them. See if that ends up weighing into this one. Of course, they already bucked that one trend, so why, you know, pay too much attention to it, but Dusty are starting to climb up in relevance in their own way. But in that other game, this is why it's relevant to not meander too far. They found so many ways to punish Astralis when they were playing defensively. Astralis couldn't find their own way back into that game, and now X7, who are ahead in gold, but still very threatened by this Yasuo's presence, and anyone who goes missing on the map will have to be very careful that Dusty doesn't deal to them the similar kind of defeat that they did with this same combo to Astralis, who are, again, still one of our top teams.
And for X7, they're going to move towards the second Rift Herald, starting it up, want to grab themselves something around the map. Of course, they've got these two dragons. It's Mountain Soul, which isn't the most exciting, but will definitely help in teamfight situations. And for MC, grabbing that Rift Herald will allow him to try and open up the map a little bit, maybe looking towards this mid lane.
I think that, just backing up quickly towards that Dragon Soul, if you get Mountain Soul, particularly Aatrox, we talked about how important he would be if he manages to survive and turn around damage. Yeah, Mountain Soul is the very best one for doing that, for burst damage in particular. Something like an Ocean, of course, could serve its own way. That's an ultimate put out, but they're not pulling the trigger. Backlund not in range or choosing not to follow.
The Tiller was the only one really hit by that. The rest of the team huddled around him for support, and the Rift Herald will be dropped immediately into this mid lane, trying to open up the map a little bit. Dusty controlling the river entrance down towards Dragon, which has just spawned down on two summoners. And now
that's the ult.
Gage on the ultimate will land down. Glass doesn't hit anyone. The knock-up on the temp won't be followed through. Those the curb. Charmed up, rooted up. Damage comes through. Kicks away by MC. Seraphine finds nothing but a flash as no one goes down.
I mean, it's if this was a shooting range, everyone's getting 0 points, folks. If there are some stray shots just about hitting the target, but not able to be followed up on. Dusty can't find that Yasuo entrance into the fight. They're trying to play around denying entrance to the river on X7, playing around their vision line, forcing X7 to play through chokes, but both teams very tentative and not able to land the engage.
Dusty will be able to secure themselves the Dragon, though, which will slow down this potential timer for X7 to get this advantage and open the door for them a little bit.
So what we saw in that last series of plays is effectively X7 around Herald, taking that uncontested, and then X7 not contesting Dusty on the actual site of the Dragon itself. It really feels like when one of these teams has the territory, the other team doesn't want anything to do with that. So what we're going to have to track in the next 5 to 10 minutes is if one of these teams will start breaking that kind of mold or just continuing to take territory for themselves, stopping the enemy team from walking into them, taking vast swathes of the map for their own.
Is being pushed in a little bit by Chasey, as we mentioned. While things haven't necessarily looked great for X7 in the team fight situations, he has been doing fine in the 1v1 up against that Gragas, and Attila just clearing out the mid lane. They got a decent amount of damage on this mid tower. Unfortunately, weren't able to utilize that, but it will be an easier push next time.
It'll be an easier push next time, but the question is, when is that next time? Because, as we said, both teams very happy to hold on to their own areas of the map, and that has been a big way to really determine this game, and neither team has been easy to let go of. Just as I say that, actually, it's going to be a trade of bot lane for mid here, so my point goes completely out the window. Next time I go, yeah, mid lane, whatever. We'll go trade that for mid for bot.
Good effort, though. I appreciate the attempted analysis. As we see a flash coming through from the Yasuo. Backlund caught out a little bit, but he's going to be fine to move back towards his standing mid lane tower.
So Chasey now on the weak side of the map. See if Dusty can complete any kind of cross map, and with that hook missing, the answer is no. So what we are going to see is mid lane collateral going down in favor of Dusty. They take X7's turrets, and then we see a trade of jungle quadrants too. That also means vision going down. So if you're looking for these picks, either whether it's the Lee Sin, the Ahri, or the Yasuo, Gragas, and various other forms of engage, that's what we're looking towards. If Dusty go into that bot side jungle, that vision is going to be difficult for them to deal with, whereas X7, if there are a couple of wards left around in their own red side jungle on the other side, they'll need to be wary of that too.
Coming up to the 20-minute mark, the Baron will be available for either of these two teams to take. It's been a very slow game. This one will likely be adding to our slightly longer average game time.
Yeah, sorry if you again need to be 50 seconds earlier to your various titterers. That's the level of increase we've had with our game times from summer.
True.
That 50 seconds, you know, that's enough for a parent to get really annoyed at you.
It takes my parents a lot less time than that, I'll tell you from experience. But X7, they try to control the vision around this Baron area. Not sure if they have the quickest Baron take?
No, but again, it's just threatening about this territory. It's just saying you have to engage into us, and we see the Encore was used that from Seraphine. Stend committing, I believe that was just a Hex Flash over that wall, but either way, has the Hex Flash now. Not sure if that was the actual full summon, it wasn't tracking that one, but neither team happy to just throw everything away on a limb. They want the right engage, and they're not happy to allow the counter engage to come through. X7 have less ways to deal with Dusty and getting on top of them, and something like a wind wall even stops the Renata from being that more classically reliable engage has come down to mistakes. X7 walking topside, but they haven't seen Graves. Oh, that's a lot of damage.
Lingers has turned off the light. The damage coming on through onto Radar Glass is big, but the ultimate comes through and Kazingo's gone. May will explode, will be cut down by Backlund. Zemsey dives away. Attila in the pit needs to be careful, but dives over to try and save the rest of the team. Tempt is running, dodges away from the angle, but looks to go back in towards Stend, but won't be able to find it. Attila over the wall, but can't find anything really. As X7 looking for a re-engage, but this is missing. This is the flash charm. X7 MC survives a second longer and will heal to freedom, but that was not pretty.
Oh, that hit me right in the nostalgia. That's a bit of a nightmare charm, if I say so myself. I expect a little bit different from these pro players, but again, you can see how hard it is to make these initial engages. There's a lot of disengage. There's a lot of ability to buy a lot of time, and X7, they lose one, but they are still looking for the turn, but they haven't blown the wind wall. They haven't managed to get anyone low enough to finish off the fight completely at this point, and then Tempt tries on 2 different occasions to try and catch their target. Doesn't actually have vision over the wall, was looking for a blind snipe onto Backlund at the back end of that. And it's a bit of a desperation move, it feels like. Not actually sure they really needed to do that, but as it stands now, X7 wasting a lot of tools, now even-ish in gold, and not really feeling happy about this situation. Again, Dusty just needs one explosive cast to make the difference.
Oh, coming in onto MZ, going to be caught out, charmed, brought back to the fight and blown up. Will be able to survive a second longer.
Oh, there it goes.
Comes through, but I don't think he's going to find anyone and will be taken down by Linkers. X7 4v5 as Dragon spawns onto the Rift Charm lands this time around, but I don't think X7 can contest this.
Oh, that's the ult. They're going again.
AC gonna have to flash away as Dusty chase him away.
2 ultimates committed, but at least with that, they secured themselves this Mountain Dragon, getting several of their own up there now. And we talked about how a Mountain Soul would be very important for X7. And yes, Dusty managed to delay that being stacked up were X7 to get themselves another 2, but just getting themselves the extra amount of resist on top of their own, all those defensive stats and whatever. And piling that on top of several shields, on top of a shield bow, on top of an Eclipse shield, on top of Seraphine, becomes that more valuable. So X7 giving away 2 of those Mountain Dragons to the other side. That's not going to be great for them moving further into the game.
And it slows things down a little bit. I want to see a Crime City Seraphine skin where she's got a little trumpet.
That is one of the best ideas I've heard you say. What else would there be? I mean, that one's a really good one. I'm not sure I've got a better idea than that.
I mean, sometimes
Not on top
I'm
of
just
my head.
right, you know, like it just happens. Okay. Less than I'd like, but sometimes it does just happen.
I think that Ari should have a Crime City skin.
I don't think I
For no reason apart from I would like it.
feel like
Just like I would like there to be a Debonair Ari skin, or a, what's another skin line?
Union Jack.
I would like a Union Jack Ari skin.
There's only one
You see how this works? It can work for anything. It really doesn't change my opinion then.
No, I miss Fiddlesticks. That's a tangent.
Well, Porp ended up playing that one game of it, of course.
yeah,
in,
he did.
For Singularity, and the last hurrah of the Spring Singularity roster. 1 Schliegums to go off into the night. And now Singularity, of course, playing later in the day. We'll catch up with the new iteration of this roster later on. But we have, of course, this quite slow affair continuing to go on. And again, Dusty happy to wait for that engage. X7 not happy to wait this time.
Goes wide, and it's back to the practice tool as MC gets charmed in. So does Chasey Cub on the flank, looking for something, but nice re-engage from Stend, gets kicked away, and Seraphine goes up as well. X7 sloppy once again, but unpunished this time around.
They get themselves the tower, and that was a lot of ultimates for a whole lot of nothing really happening after that point. And X7 at least get that mid lane out of turret. They want to play around picks, they want to play around vision. That's a big part of their game plan between their mid jungle. And of course, Zeri being able to join the fray over the wall. Getting that mid lane out of turret really helps with that. So another thing to track. We talked about how that territory can really affect both these teams, trying to go into enemy vision. Yeah, well, with that mid lane out of turret down, X7 find themselves a bit easier to play that out.
Chasey finds Kerberos in the river, but this is a tanky Gragas. The fat man has got some layers on, and Chasey going to be unable to do too much
Layers.
other than like an ogre.
Yes. I've heard that about them, those mythical beasts.
Yeah.
Now, once again, X7, they pushed away that mid outer turret, they put down wards, they know where Dusty are. Again, you can see how differently they can play now. They can play a little bit further up, but I mean, playing a little bit more aggressively on top of not playing aggressively at all is still not that much, turns out.
And for Dusty, they're happy to move up and contest this vision a little bit, grabbing themselves there. Jungle.
You wards be fearful.
Yeah, they're coming for you.
Here be sweepers. Do you reckon there's like an internal like ward society, a community of wards which have survived the Great Vision War?
Well, I mean, for me, it's a case of have the minions unionized.
Well, I mean, they're on different teams.
Well, no,
You
but
have
like, the blue minions.
They're certainly not freelance.
I mean, that was when Mordekai's used to bring Dragon in.
Oh my god.
That was the freelancer who was
Yeah,
like, I am
Mordekai's
much better
brought
at
in
my job than you.
an independent contractor to work. Oh my god. No, that's what Belveth does.
Oh, yeah,
Belveth is the... Oh my god.
That's when you're like at school, but
That's
like
what the Void is. We found out what the Void is. You've got like Malzahar, you've got Belveth. It's just independent contractors for minions.
This is when you're at school and all the teachers are off sick or something and you get all the substitutes coming in.
Wait, hang on. Who are you calling a substitute teacher?
The Void Remora.
Wait, the Void Remora, a substitute
Yeah, because they
teachers?
replace the minions, don't they?
That's a whole lot of substitute teachers.
Well, I mean, it's a big fluke.
What would they teach? Geography?
Biology?
Well, that's actually probably not a bad point. Speaking on biology, and a little bit... Okay,
All right,
that's
nothing much is happening. So.
Yeah, well, we've got a dragon in a minute. We'll talk about that. But did you know that multiple kinds of crustaceans have all evolved independently into crabs? There's a word for it, carcinogenesis. It's evolution saying that you need to be a crab. Crabs are good. They like crabs. So if you're a crustacean out there listening to this broadcast, which I admit is a bit of a slim possibility, you're going to be a crab one day. Sorry to break it to you.
I wonder if you've got an NLC pet that's a crab, love to see it. Make sure to send it to us onto
Peak form of evolution.
At eViper and just send it directly my way.
Yep.
We only see it on
I would also like to be tagged in that.
Yeah, just tag any talent. Make sure Duckling's involved, obviously. Just send in
See
a
if
bunch
we
of
can
crabs.
get anyone tagged by a skill shot this time, though. Kerberos is feeling it. He's got himself multiple items now. Of course, that Seraphs and that Night Harvester. Lots of damage, lots of cooldown reduction. Back to the game. Let's see if this engage can finally hit.
Casey's looking for it, but nothing's been...
No, it
just
can't.
yet. MC on the side will catch on to Stend, but Nautilus isn't really the priority target. The Dragon is up, so this can be contested. And if Dusty grab it, they'll feel pretty happy with themselves. But X7 are moving upriver towards the Baron.
And, well, X7 don't have a choice, right? Because, as you just talked about, the Nautilus not being the prime target, anyone stood next to the Nautilus can't be a target too. You land that Lee Sin Q, the hook flies at you while you are in flight. Stend can just disengage you. Similar, the Wind Wall does similar to Renata. X7 don't have clean engage options. Dusty, they're not pulling the trigger either, but they're also getting dragons. 3 Infernos, that's a lot of mountain dragons.
Chasey's standing in the breach. Charm lands, but this time on the club, it's pretty beefy. Backline in the backline, but Chasey goes gold and can't find anything, has to flash away. Now Tempt running back to the side as Dusty look to just orderly retreat. They've already got the dragon, they don't need to go much further.
Okay, we'll see what we can do. Stend looking to see what he can land with that flash on the Nautilus. Doesn't have the ult, has a hook, has a passive, though. Lots of ways to try and catch people out, but Dusty, X7, once again, not finding those clean engages. And now Dusty have themselves third mountain. Soul Point, lots of resist. What can they do with this? X7, they're not landing relevant damage, and that's a TP.
I am so unbelievably
Oh my God.
confused as MC gets the kick, but Chasey just deleted, won't be bailed out as Dusty moving forward. MC flashing the wall, but I'm speechless.
That TP sucked. It was into everyone. Backland gave himself the luxury that Yasuo so often doesn't have of being able to place the wind wall exactly where he wants it. Chasey, all memes aside, goes way into the back of things, is just not able to turn that fight around. MC goes down, and Dusty, they wait for the mistakes. It's a long time coming to get themselves a game-breaking advantage, but with several kills, with that Mountain Soul on the horizon and a Baron buff to tide them over to the next kind of fight, you have to go back to this fight, because Chasey walks in here and look at that wind wall. Look how disgusting that wind wall is. Renata can do nothing. Zeri can do nothing. No one is there to help, and Dusty clean up the free kill, and once that Aatrox is down, and all of their ultimates on the other side also not really able to be impacted. They're all down, they're all on cooldown. This is a done deal.
It's as if they're not communicating, because Attila was mid when that teleport comes in. Even if he's not going to be cut off by a wind wall like it was in the fight,
You need your AD carry, though.
he needs to be in attendance at least.
And for a team that just beat, now a couple of games removed now, just beat our undefeated team, JDXL gave them their sole loss of the split so far. This is such a night and day difference, and sadly this is the night to that day, that bright shining light which was the peak of what they could do there. X7 losing to Eminem, potentially losing to Dusty. this is starting to be very, very scary. Remember, they are on the cusp of being out of playoffs. Lose enough games, someone sneaks up on you, like a Veneer, like an M&M, like an Ariki. What can they do? Can they stop that eventuality?
Forward, diving away. The team fight needs to happen as X7 tries to make it. So MC looking for a kick, can't fight too much. Charmed up in the middle of the fight and just gets the lead. And Chasey forced to back away. Backlund on the side catches out Attila, who goes over the wall to safety this time around. But Chasey needs to get a knock up. Will be able to do so on the curb. Who's also charmed up. Aatrox goes into the push, but can't hide from Yasuo, who picks up a second. Backlund moves forward, gets the knock up onto Kasing.
Backlund?
Forfeit. Attila will be able to shoot out, but it doesn't matter because Yasuo picks up another with Graves' assistance. Dusty press forward.
You know what? At this point, I'm wondering, do you just ban out Backlund's Yasuo? It's not the first time we've seen it, but he is putting on yet another clinic. Dusty putting X7 to the sword, and that is held by Backlund.
And the inhibitor falls. Dusty now looking towards the first Nexus tower. There still death time is 20 on Chasey, 10 on Kasing, but they will be able to pick up one. It's Stend who gets deleted by Tempt. But I mean, I am so baffled by this X7 roster.
It's kind of difficult here, right? Because I'm sure you're listening out there and you're hearing the words X7 a lot, and we are talking about X7 a lot.
Yes.
On the other side of this, Dusty! My God, this is a team that couldn't beat our top teams. We're sat there being a bit of a gatekeeper. And then they beat Astralis, who we just saw put out on a absolute massive game versus Astralis earlier. In the day, well, rather Astralis, blah, 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 whatever. They've beaten one of our top teams. X7, another team which seems to be on the up and up. They are putting them through an absolute clinic. And X7, yeah, they are making so many mistakes, it feels like. They're not communicating effectively. They're behind in this game, but Dusty are really not giving them any chances in this one.
I mean, absolutely. Dusty, you gotta play what's in front of you. They waited, they were patient, they were like, there's a mistake coming. The mistake came, they capitalized. They've snowballed horrifically off the back of it.
And they don't actually have to commit to so many of their far-flung engages too. If it is a cask, if it is an encore, yeah, it's a little bit different if Nautilus flashes in, which is done a couple of times, but you know what? I applaud that Stend. Let's make this a bit more of an active game. But Dusty are so happy to wait. They're not being ill-disciplined. You can see the damage from just single barrel rolls from Kerberos. Talk about him not being on a duelist champion, but having agency in those team fights. He's been having it so far. MC, sadly, not had any agency himself, and 0-4 Lee Sin game was looking for the flank, but with that ward placed down, should know that that was a Lee Sin ward put down. That's it all.
Caught out, taken low, trying to be bailed out, but there's just no way. Sten secures the kill, and now X7 put to the sword once again. Linkers grabbing another, routing members away. Attila goes over the wall. MC, no clue what you think you're doing there, will be deleted once more by Backlund, who, as you mentioned, is having a stellar performance. X7 melt away, and Dusty from Iceland once again will secure a win.
And what an awesome team fight. It's an awkward team fight again from X7's side, but Dusty find the engage. They don't take those chances, and the wind wall blocks the Renata ult yet again. And Dusty, with a big old wall of them of their own, slamming it down in front of X7, sending them to an even scoreline of 6-6.
Dusty have been sensational in this matchup. They did everything that they needed to do. My problem, and I know we've harped on, is X7 didn't ask them any questions.
It felt like they could have played through early game. We were particularly asking about that top side. In the early game, you have an Aatrox into a Gragas. It controls that matchup early. You have a Lee Sin Ahri. That is a kill combo. X7 failed to get those cylinders working, and Dusty, we have seen now multiple times, if you don't put them down early with a combo that they are practiced with, they are going to use that combo to end the game. Suddenly, Dusty, on comfort champions, they are going to take this kind of game to you. It doesn't matter who you are in the league.
And for X7, they must be fearful of, as we mentioned in the cast, people are going to be coming up towards them. Dusty keeping themselves in that conversation.
There are some ears perking up now in that bottom four.
Yeah, Veneer are like, oh, hello, what's going on here? But on the other side, Dusty keeping themselves in that conversation to say, look, JDXL and Riddle, really good teams. Riddle just lost today, so they're gaining a little bit of ground there. They need to be keeping themselves in the conversation with the likes of Astralis Talent as well. So definitely a very, very strong performance from them. Let's hand over to our analyst desk and see what they had to say.
There's a universe where X7 might not make playoffs, and apparently we might be living on it. Dusty with an outstanding performance from top to bottom. Let's digest into this game. Why did it work so well for Dusty? And then we'll go to why it didn't work for X7 though.
I had a really bad inkling that MC was going to default back to his 2 AD champions that he was most comfortable on. And one, of course, is Graves. The other one is Lee Sin. He's picked them in the previous split when he was playing Riddle as well. Now, the problem with that is if you don't make Lee Sin snowball in the early really hard, or you snowball another lane with Lee Sin really hard, the champion kind of falls off. You're only playing for these insane insect kicks later on in the game, which are really hard to find, especially when you have like Nautiluses and Seraphines that play from distance, that CC you really easily. So I feel like the entire problem started from draft, the fact that you have to make the pick work. And we've gone level 10, level 11, and that Lee Sin has not worked. He also walked in the jungle blind again, with something that is becoming a reoccurring effect. And he gave a first blood to the Yasuo really early.
And it kind of feels like, right, we were watching the game and then we hit the 50-minute marks, all of a sudden, not much has happened. All that has really happened is MC being 0-1, and when your Lee Sin has that scoreline 15 minutes in, that's not good because he was going up against the Graves, a scaling jungler who's fine by just sitting there, farming up, and when he reaches the late game, he's going to be very happy, but MC, not going to be happy going 0-1 in 50 minutes of Lee Sin gameplay. That's why you want to be aggressive, you want to get ahead, you want to build a lead, and they just failed to do that, so they really just fell flat in the end.
And I was really scared actually seeing how the draft was unfolding from the sort of Dusty. I'm like, please do not fall into the trap that Enrique fell into, and you just pick 3 scaling lanes with a Grave. So everyone is really passive, right? Which allows Lee Sin to find some paths into more proactivity in the early game. They didn't do that. They locked in the Graves on the top of the map. First strike, get that Night Harvester in. The second Gragas hits level 6. They pull the gang together with the Yasuo. They kill MC, and it just snowballs from there on out. And I feel like, again, Buckland. He has been the one member Dusty kept from Spring, and he has been phenomenal. I don't think he died in this game on Yasuo either, by the way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but again, I don't think he died.
From Champion Select to the end of the game, Dusty were comfortable versus X7. So let's have a talk with Nautilus, with Stend, that is standing for the interview. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
That was clean from you guys, from Champion Select to the end of it. What was the plan before playing versus X7? How did you guys set up as well? Run me by it.
Actually, we were just a bit drafting for ourselves. Like we banned like the Draven because they blind it easily with the Janna. So we just took it away, and we just draft our comfort, and it paid off. So yeah, I think they kind of trolled with the Lee Sin R2. I don't know what it gives them to the draft, and yeah. That's it for the
Moving on into Dusty, you guys are in a comfortable position to get into playoffs. How is the team feeling? What's the spirit with Dusty so far?
But actually, we are like 4-0, I think, in the 2 last weeks. So we are really confident. We stepped up a lot and taking the win. So it's really, really grateful. And we are not aiming only for the playoff, but for the second place. So yeah, it's really nice.
Oh, you're going for the second place. So
Rematch!
I want to ask you now, if you're going for the second place, can you tell me who is going to be the team falling from the top so you guys can be there? Is it JDXL or Riddle?
I mean, for sure, mathematically, it should be Riddle.
Okay, but if you could take someone from the top so you could be there, if you could choose, tell me.
Oh, if I could choose, I would take out JDXL for sure.
Lovely. Now, a last question for you, Stan, because that was an amazing game. You guys are looking outstanding, but I have to ask you, do you think X7 may not get playoffs? You just played versus them, so tell me, is X7 right now playoffs material?
I think they will make playoff, but in the bottom part of the playoff. Like they threw lot of games, I think, against M&M, like they lost some games, and I think it will cost a lot for them. But I'm pretty sure they will still make playoff.
Okay, but
like they have what? Sorry.
For you guys, you're secured, right?
Oh yeah,
you think
you're secured.
No. I'm asking you. Do you feel secure? Like, do you believe like it's?
Oh yeah. I'm really secure to qualify for playoff. Yeah, I'm 100% sure.
Okay, thank you so much for this interview, man. You look happy, the team looks happy, and you guys are looking clean.
Yeah,
so.
I could take my revenge, but I'm really happy.
Congratulations, man. Have a nice one.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to talk with
Bye-bye.
you. There you go. Oh, Dusty looking for the top 2, though. I like that spiciness. You have to set up some objectives. Even if you don't achieve them, you're like, nah, I want this.
So like bringing the world's smallest violin.
Why?
For X7, I think it will be extremely saddening to not see X7 make playoffs and to not see them make a good run through the playoffs. They were the team that we put our hopes on for NLC Spring to make a good run at EU Masters. They only fell to a very strong LDLC all the way to quarterfinals. To just see them crumble under pressure like this after technically refurbishing the entire almost roster and bringing in really big names to them, it just feels bad, man.
Imagine we are living in a world where we are sitting here asking the question, will X7 make playoffs? Our reigning champions. It is not what anyone expected, even with the substitutions. You know, Attila is a great historic AD carry.
It
There's
is.
so much history behind him. You bring in a Korean coming from the Challenger League who we have been told was supposed to be top 3 in that league as well, like in individual play. So we are getting promising talents in. And for them to be fighting to even get playoffs, this
Found
is
it.
so unreal.
Okay, she found
NLC
something.
better than Korea Challengers.
I mean, that's a good highlight, though. That's a good
And if
headline.
LFL wins versus us, this means that LFL is better than Korea?
Challengers.
Okay,
Challengers.
okay,
only.
just-
Let's not push it.
asking,
Let's not push it.
I don't know. Whenever someone brings me that sort of reasoning, I'm like, why? But no, obviously we focus on X7 because it's a big storyline, but I want to look at the winners of this one, Dusty. And reasonably, can we look into Dusty as a top 2 team right now?
I'm not sure about top 2, but I think they bring enough versatility to go up against the likes of JDXL and Riddle. I think the fact that they're more than willing to flex picks like the Yasuo, like the Seraphine, like the Soraka around the map continuously. The fact that in this particular game, they're like, you know what? We're not very scared of the proactivity that X7 brings into the game. So if we default back to our comforts, if we play our game perfectly, we can beat any team. And they did. Like, back on his Yasuo. Linkas even fell back onto one of the champions that I don't particularly think have any room in this meta right now, which is the Graves, because you want to be proactive a little bit in the early game with the likes of Volibear and Wukong, right? And then the Gragas in addition that we haven't seen before. Then you've got Seraphine back down the bot lane for the Vox and together with Stend's not lose that we know him for. So it's like comfort all across the map. And if they're not that comfortable with their champions, then also the performance will come through.
And at this point, now we can look into X7 as we jump into the interview today with Kasing, the support. Welcome back to the show. I mean, we got to stop meeting like this, Kasing. What is happening with X7? On one week, we're like, man, you guys are stomping. On the other one, what is happening?
Personally, I don't really know what to say apart from, from what we've shown. It looks quite bad. And I would say that in a way that we're just very not proactive. I don't know what happened. It just feels like there's kind of a dynamic that's changed in our team. And, I thought it would be fixed before today's game, but it just feels like we still have this, we're still suffering the same problems. And it's kind of like it's like a brick wall, right? That we're just smashing our heads into. We're unable to get over this hurdle. And I think right now we're just looking really, really bad as a team. And to be honest, it's kind of unacceptable, right? With kind of the quality of players in this team. I don't think we should be, I guess, performing like this. This just makes me feel really bad.
It's the first time I've heard you like this, Kasing. You are the untiltable one. We talked about this in the pre-show as well. So I want to ask you, how is the mentality and the team feeling? Because we look into X7 like a wall, a mountain. You guys carry this throughout European Masters. You took down K-Corp in group phase. Like, you guys won versus them. Obviously, you lost afterwards, but you were the one taking them down. How is the team feeling right now, the mentality of the team?
I mean, obviously, after this loss, it kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie, I'm quite realistic. Losing like this, like, it wasn't even the fact that Dusty's bad team or anything like that. It's just, it felt like kind of we rolled over and died and didn't really do anything, when I want to play League because, I want to actually try and play the game. It just doesn't feel like we're on the same page as Five. We're not actually looking to, find a way to come back or just kind of, you know what, guys, we're behind. We're playing a comp that's meant to be ahead and early, but we didn't. So therefore, you know what, it sucks. And that's kind of how it feels at the moment. But obviously, I hope that we don't stay like this because, this is how teams eventually just end up, I guess, losing all the way and not even making playoffs. Like, I'm a bit worried, I'm not going to lie, because not making playoffs in NLC is like that was like the bare minimum, right? For me, my bare minimum was trying to win the split. But with the way that we're playing right now, I don't even think getting even, playoffs is even a factor. And that should never happen.
You know what, Kasing? I'm just going to be the angel on the shoulder instead of the devil on the shoulder like Ashram is. And I'm going to say you guys lost back-to-back to Bifrost in regular split last season. And then you proceeded to destroy them twice in the playoffs. That's what I'm going to say. So if there's somebody who knows how to turn it around against certain teams, it's definitely X7. Now, I want to ask you something because you've played in so many teams, right? And you've played with so many big names. Do you think that the fact that you're the reigning champions here, the fact that you've got so many big names in your team, does that add more pressure when you lose to whoever it is? It might be top of the standings, it might be bottom of the standings team.
I think the pressure is only there if you allow it to affect you, rather. I feel like most of the time, how we played today is kind of a reflection of our practice, right? Like if you have bad practice, you're going to have bad results. It's pretty much what it is, right? And obviously, I hope that we can bounce back from this because I'm not really happy with our play. Neither are you guys watching this disaster of a gameplay, whatever we're doing. But, all I can say is keep your heads up for like the next coming games because something will change, I hope. I really, really hope. But yeah, thank you very much, though, Trouble. I wish I can give you a hug for your appreciative words.
Well, I hope you guys can keep your heads up because you made us really proud at EU Masters and we know that you carry an entire history, both you and Attila down the bot lane, and we hope you can bounce back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sending you big love and hug as well. And we hope to see you on a big victory next time, Kasing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Nice
Take care. Thank you.
Oh, stop, man.
First time I've seen Kasing like this.
That's why I'm saying it sucks. That's why I was playing the small violin. It sucks. This player should not be losing. And he said it. Something is going wrong in practice. If they have lost it in the fundamentals, it's just so difficult to remember. How in the world did we keep winning? It's more about a Haru. It's more about the bot lane. It's about having your players on the same page on how they want to play the game. And I just don't feel like they found this point that they all agree with.
I can't look into this roster and hear Kasing saying, we're not all on the same page. I want to play League of Legends. I want to win. It doesn't seem like everybody's on the same page.
It was
a
scary heartbreaking interview. It was very rough to just sit here and listen to it, right? Because a player with so much success, such a storied history, and he is, at the moment, in the battle for playoffs in the league. It is so unimaginable previously, and it feels so crazy to hear him say, I should say, they are not on the same page, and clearly that's where the issues are lying. If they were a good, solid unit, they would be able to make it far. But this game, they got dumpstered. This wasn't a close game. This wasn't a 40-minute back and forth. They just rolled over and died. Our reigning champions rolled over and died.
Let's make this visual for everyone. So let's show the standings after this game for you guys to understand.
We had like a bad replay or something of them falling over and dying.
X7 stay at 6th place, but they're only 2 games away from Vanir and the likes like Eminem and Nuriki as well, if they get a really good week, from catching up. And the way the mental is right now means that everyone, aside from Singularity right now at this point, everyone, Vanir, Eminem, and Nuriki,
they're looking at them.
Realistically get them.
Yes, they are literally the prey.
They smell the blood in the water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to remind everyone that Vanir and Eminem have not played yet. Vanir and Eminem are playing against each other on the last game of the day. Does Vanir win? They're 1 win away.
1 win again.
Catching up to X7. Does Eminem win? They're also only 2 wins away. We've got plenty of games coming through. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting a bit scared for X7. Even though we like to talk about it, it's like, our champions, they're losing now, what's going on? It's really sad to not see them in playoffs.
As a host, I have to say, I love Kasing, I love Attila, I have a big history with Attila as well, so I love them. But as a viewer of League of Legends, I'm like,
That's bad League of
Legends.
It is. Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. So.